Alright, it is time for another coaster battle. Today I'll be putting the two B&M dive coasters located at the Busch Gardens parks up against each other. On the one side we have SheiKra, located at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This dive coaster opened in 2005 and was the first dive coaster to open in the United States. After the success of SheiKra, Busch Gardens Williamsburg decided to open their own dive coaster with Griffon. These two roller coasters get compared all the time because they're from the Busch Gardens parks. Many have their own opinions on both of these roller coasters. Some will say Griffon is better, while others will say SheiKra is. In this video, I'll be comparing a few statistics and various aspects of the rides and see which one comes out on top. As always, let's start off with the ride stats. Running down through the ride stats, we can see that Griffon takes almost all four categories except for track length. Griffon is 5 feet taller, 1 mile per hour faster, and has one more inversion, while SheiKra has 80 more feet of track. Each stat earns a half point, so Griffon will get 1.5, while SheiKra will get 0.5. Moving on to our next category, theming. I think this one is a no-brainer. As we look over both roller coasters, SheiKra is the clear winner in this category. SheiKra has the better theming. The ride is very incorporated into the park, including with the buildings, obviously the giant structure that the ride dives through, the midpoint of the ride. The foliage has grown in very well around SheiKra, and the ride just looks fantastic. As for Griffon, the ride still looks good, but it's still a little bit open and doesn't have as much theming as SheiKra does. Beyond from the ride station, the only area of theming I guess would be the Splashdown, but even that, not so much. SheiKra gets this point. Ride view. I've been using this category on almost every one of my coaster battles, so why stop here? As both roller coasters have a very nice view from the top of the lift hill. SheiKra, though you are 200 feet in the air, to be honest, there really isn't much to look at up there. It's just all urban settings around you. You might see some of Tampa Bay in the distance, but nothing really strikes your fancy. It's really, honestly, it's not that exciting. As for Griffon, the roller coaster is actually up on a hill, so when you get 205 feet in the air, it looks like you're way up there, and you can see for miles all around you. You can obviously see the harbor, you can see some ships out there. The view is just breathtaking, so when you compare both roller coasters, to me this is another no competition, and I say this point goes to Griffon. The first drop. Both of them have a holding break where it holds you at that drop for about 5 seconds, letting you just look straight down to the earth before plummeting down that 90-degree drop. Griffon at the bottom actually goes right underneath the bridge, as for SheiKra does not. However, when I'm comparing both of these drops, I actually think more about the airtime than I actually really do about if it's diving under the bridge, because honestly, I don't really notice that bridge. It happens so fast. Again, this is more of personal preference, but I think SheiKra's first drop is slightly better. They're very similar, but I felt like I got more airtime on the drop on SheiKra than I did on the drop with Griffon. To put things into perspective, I actually rode both of these roller coasters within 48 hours of each other, so I have both of them very fresh in my mind when riding them. This is obviously a very close point, but because I'm going off of my own personal preference, I'm going to give this point to SheiKra. The second drop. Both roller coasters also feature a second vertical drop, or a near vertical drop. According to RCDB, it's claiming that the second drop is 90 degrees, but I'm actually not really sure if that is true. I know that the drop on SheiKra is considered near 90 degrees, so I know that one is not a true vertical drop. Griffon's second drop will take you right down into the ravine, throwing you right into another Immelman. SheiKra, on the other hand, will dive you right into this tower structure that sends you through a tunnel. This point I'm going to give to SheiKra as well, because honestly that whole interaction that you get with diving through that structure is so amazing. Griffon, though you do have a nice view looking over the ravine, it's just not as exciting as the drop on SheiKra. Also, both of these drops have decent airtime. Again, I still think that SheiKra has slightly better airtime. I'm not really sure why, but I'm going to give this point, as I said already, to SheiKra. The Splashdown. Okay, both roller coasters feature a splashdown effect, and I think they're both amazing to look at. SheiKra's splashdown is a little bit incorporated with the theming as you wrap around and it actually takes you close to that tower structure again. You can actually get very close to the splashdown structure, either standing in front of it or off to the side. For Griffon, it's also another very neat looking splashdown effect, but you don't have the same access as you do on SheiKra. You can only get access to it on the side. On SheiKra, you can actually get to 3 sides of that splashdown. You can get to the front, the side, and the back. There's actually a restaurant on the back side, and I sat there and I had lunch. It's actually really cool because you can watch the roller coaster fly right above you as it goes right into the splashdown. SheiKra earns yet another point, this time for the splashdown. Alright, our final category is ride intensity. Both roller coasters are very similar in ride intensity, but I think Griffon has the slight edge, making it the more intense roller coaster. Being that the train is actually wider because it features 10 people across, as versus SheiKra only has 8 across, the trains are going to be a little bit heavier. On Griffon, you can just sit that much farther away from the track, being all the way up there on one of those edge seats, which will really enhance the whole ride experience. The other reason that I think Griffon is slightly more intense is because of that extra inversion. Overall, both roller coasters are very similar, but for the sake of this battle, I'm going to give this point to Griffon. Alright, our final score comes to Griffon with 3.5 points and SheiKra with 4.5 points, making SheiKra the winner of today's battle. Personally, I think SheiKra has so much more going for it than Griffon does. You might be able to argue that you think Griffon is the better coaster technically, and I won't argue with you because again, I think there's both very similar. However, when you take in all the aspects, I just think SheiKra comes out on top, especially with that presentation theming category. My most recent trip to both of these parks has really invigorated my love for dive roller coasters. I always considered them a one-trick pony, which again, they still are, but I'm starting to appreciate more about them. They're fun roller coasters with that excellent airtime on their first drop and second drop. The layout is still solid, though it is very short. It's just a fun ride overall. Well, that wraps up my coaster battle. Do you think SheiKra deserves to be number 1, or should Griffon be up on top? Let me know in the comments below. I'm actually kind of curious how many people I have that are Griffon fans versus SheiKra fans, so tell me all about it. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to click on that like button and subscribe. That way you continue to get great content brought to you by Xtreme Thrills.